having this conversation and bring in Dr. Yaw Tchie, a senior research fellow at the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs. Thank you very much, Dr. Tchie, for joining us. The arrest of the civilian leadership in Sudan follows more than a week of two kinds of protest. One group calling for the military to take over, while the pro-democracy group wants the military prevented from taking over. Explain to us what is going on in Sudan right now.
Well, thank you very much, Penny, for having me. What is going on at the moment is what you're seeing clashes between two or three factions within not just obviously the FCC, which is the Forces for Freedom for Change, but also in the wider Sudanese politics. And what this is you have those who support the military, who want to see the military in charge. Some are arguing that this is being backed by the military, those protesters. The others being those who went to the streets, who would like to see the civilians take and continue to take charge. A lot of this, as you said, has been brought up or brought on due to the protest that took place over a month ago. But also, I would argue it goes further back than that. A lot of this, I would argue, is rooted in the suggestion, which is rightfully so, that the RSF and elements of the security forces should sit underneath the transitional government, and this is the civilian head. Now, some of these tensions that we have seen over the last few weeks, protests and whatnot, have also been clashed in combination with other issues like high inflation, significant rise in petrol prices and food prices in Sudan, and also some of the restructuring that is taking place, which was inevitable. But I would say, largely speaking, a lot of this has been caused by the restructuring or the attempts to restructure state policy under the civilian transitional government, whereby they have tried to maneuver in the existing system that was initiated under Bashir and have struggled, as it were, to be able to find their feet, to be able to implement policy reforms that would move Sudan fully forward. Now, that is not to say that they haven't tried, but what I would argue is that the evidence suggests that there have been more announcements and more rhetorical speeches around what they have done and the natural policy implications or policy reforms on the ground.
And how do you see the international community reacting to what's going on in Sudan? I know we've covered some of those reactions from the Arab League, from the EU, from the US, all of them condemning the coup. But how do you see their approach largely towards this crisis being?
Well, I suspect at some point what we will see is some sort of unified call from the regional body. The regional body hasn't spoken yet, or the continental body as of yet. I would expect at some point, while the US has made a comment, there will be a joint comment from Troika countries. This is the UK, Norway, and the US emphasizing support. You might see support from the German government coming out as well as the European Union coming together with some form of solidified argument to say actually there needs to be a transitional government. Now, I think what is important for the military to take on board is that even without them listening or trying to take on board what the international community is saying, you have to remember Sudan requires economic support, and this largely comes from the international community. And so it is not in the interest of the military to hold on to this long term, because it won't work in the wider Sudan focus or let's say interest in this case.
All right, Dr. Yaw Tchie, thank you very much for those insights.